Katie. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of traveling alone, why traveling alone is really great, just perks and advantages and pros and some cons, but mostly pros, but like kind of also the cons that maybe go with those pros of traveling alone, especially on road trips. So a lot of you guys know that I have been living out of this little Toyota Yaris for about 3 years. And the reason I've been living out of it is to travel around the country. And it's just like a cheap and easy way to do so. Instead of getting hotels or getting a bigger car or flying, things like that, I've just been traveling in this car and it's been awesome. And a lot of those travels have been by myself. And so I wanted to talk about some awesome things that you get to experience and some of the perks, and again, some of the cons as well of traveling alone on road trips in your car, in a van. And I'm sure some of these also would make sense if you're flying or traveling like that alone, as well as staying in hotels and traveling. So that's what this video is going to be about. And if you're not already, I would love if you subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram as well for more daily updates. And without further ado, let's get into the pros and cons, but mostly pros of traveling alone. So okay, full disclosure, I have recorded this video, I think 3 other times, and it just either like the lighting was really horrible or I just didn't love how I was explaining things. It just never came out right. So hopefully 4th time's a charm, because I can't record it again. I don't want to. I don't want to record it again. And so I have some notes on my phone. I don't know why it's still plugged in when my car's off. Unnecessary. So I have a list of like 5-ish things, but you guys know that I can talk, and so I might go into some tangents. But anyway, the first one that I wrote down is that it's just easier. And what I mean by easier is that you get to choose whatever you want to do. Like everything about traveling, if you are traveling by yourself, especially if you're on the road, you get to choose whatever you want to do. You get to choose when you stop to use the restroom, or stop to get gas, or stop to get food, and you get to choose where you're gonna go get food. You get to choose if you want to go see some giant ball of yarn, or if you want to go see a 6-foot rabbit, which there was a sign for that, and I stopped and I didn't even see the 6-foot rabbit, so I still have no idea if it was a rabbit that had 6 feet or a 6-foot tall rabbit. I still have no idea. I don't remember where that was. South Dakota, I think. But anyway, you get to stop and see whatever you want to see, and you don't have to compromise, which might sound a little bit selfish, but if your priority, you guys know I'm huge on priorities. So if your priority is, I have a month, or I have 4 days to travel, and I kind of have ideas of what I want to be doing, it might be kind of hard to find someone else who wants to do it the exact same way that you do. It's kind of difficult to find people who you really are going to match up that well, or who don't really care what happens. They're just kind of along for the ride, so they're okay with you taking control. It might be hard to find that. And so if your priority is like, well, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, and those are like really the things that you want to get done, they're on your bucket list, they are your like top goals, then honestly, it might just work out better if you do it by yourself, if you travel by yourself, because you get to choose what's going on. Like if you end up in Seattle and you planned to, because you guys know I'm not huge on planning, but some people are, and sometimes it's mildly necessary if you want to see certain things, if you have to buy tickets for something or something like that. So if you think that you're going to be in Seattle for 2 or 3 days, but then you go there and you love it and you want to stay for a week, if you're with someone else, you have to run that by them. You have to have a conversation about it. You have to talk about it, because they might not want to, or they might be like, I hate Seattle. They might want to go somewhere else. And again, this might sound a little selfish. I know that for sure. But if you have goals and you don't want anyone else to stop you from reaching those goals, then traveling by yourself might be a better option. If you're kind of just driving around, that's a different story. But I hope you guys know what I mean. When you're traveling alone, you don't have to like talk anything out. It's almost like a perk of being single versus being in a relationship. You can do whatever you want whenever you want. And for some people that might sound selfish, but at the time in your life, that still might be what's best for you. And so that kind of just like depends. So let me see what else I wrote. Yeah, you can go wherever you want and stay how long you want to stay. You can listen to your own music. All decisions are your decisions. And if you're not great at decision making, honestly, throwing yourself out into a place where you're by yourself driving around on the road, you're going to be forced to make more decisions, and you're going to learn how to be a better decision maker. So that also is like another perk as well to that. But yeah, you just get to choose whatever you want to do. You get to live on your own schedule. You do not have to compromise or have conversations with other people or arguments. You don't have anyone to argue with if you're in the car by yourself. So it can be for when you take breaks. It can be for what food you want to eat. And it can also be for, I have a goal of going to 15 major league ballparks. It might be easier to do that by yourself, because you might not find someone who has the exact same time that you do to do that, who would want to do that. And so, especially if you talk about priorities and goals, or if you just are very, very strict and you might not be able to find someone who would really want to kind of do whatever you want to do, it might just be easier to travel alone, or more beneficial if you think that you can reach more goals that way or live out more of your priorities that way. And so obviously the con to this is that traveling alone is lonely. It's like for sure lonely sometimes. And you don't have someone to talk to, and you don't have someone to help you if something bad happens. And you don't have someone that if you're like, I don't even care what we eat, you don't have anyone to maybe make some decisions for you if you're too tired or you really just don't care. And you just don't have anyone to share all of that with. And so again, it depends on your priorities, what is on that goal list, and how you want to travel. Because the way that I've traveled, I've been on the road for years. And so I've taken little trips with people. I think the longest I did it was about a month, but most of my trips with other people have been about a week or two. So sometimes I can, not easily, but sometimes it's a little bit easier to find someone who might want to travel for a week or two, and that I feel like we do get along and we do compromise and we are okay with living on each other's schedules. But you also might be like, I really want to get to California tomorrow, and you might not be able to find someone to do that with. And so it's one of those things, like if you're waiting to travel because you haven't found anyone to travel with yet, I would encourage you guys to think about it. Are you waiting for someone else to travel with you because you're kind of scared, or because you don't know what you're doing and you're letting that fear of failure or confusion or something bad happening stop you from like jumping head first, or feet first, head first, feet first? What is the saying? I have no idea. Or do you actually just want to travel with someone? Like right now, I'd love to travel with someone because I've traveled so much by myself and it's just a different experience. And so it's something that I would encourage you to think. Is it that you want to travel with someone else because you're scared, or do you want to travel with someone else because that's just what you want to be doing? And so anyway, that's number one, that it's easier to travel alone for lots of reasons. But then the con to that is, yeah, you might get lonely, or you just might want to have a friend around. Maybe you just would enjoy that more, and that's totally okay. But again, it depends on your priorities, the way you want to plan your trip or not plan your trip, how often you like to stop, how like type A pushy you are. Traveling with someone else might cause a lot of like, you might butt heads. And if you do, you honestly don't have a lot of space to get away from each other. You'd have to like maybe stop and kind of spend a day apart or something. So if you are going to travel with someone, it takes, you know, different preparation and stuff like that. So it's just something to think about for sure. And so number two is, where is it? Here we go. There's more room for you. There's really honestly no con for that. If you're traveling in your car by yourself, there is more room for you. You do not need anyone else's crap in your car. It's easier to sleep. It's easier to fit all your stuff. It's easier to fit yourself. And you don't have anyone else being naggy when your car's messy, because it's gonna get messy. It's just gonna, whether there's one person or three people, no matter how big your car is. If you're in a van and you don't have a lot of stuff, it might not get messy very often, but if you're in a car, it's gonna get messy. So if you have two people and you know, your friend does not like if you're messy, or if you have some like empty water bottles on the floor, if you didn't put your clothes away, then you know, you might butt heads again. But again, you might be okay butting heads, or it might be something that you know that you get along with really well, so that kind of stuff doesn't really matter. But number two is that you definitely do have more room for your own stuff. And especially if you have a small car like mine, fitting anyone in here, especially sleeping, is possible, but you know, not the best. It's not my favorite, and it's definitely not other people's favorites. Like when I've had like friends and stuff sleep in this car with me, it's not their favorite either. But yeah, number two is you can just have more of your stuff, and you can organize it the way that you want to, and you can deal with all the car stuff the way that you want to, and you have much more room to sleep, like much more room. Number three, I'm gonna probably just read this one because I have it all written out and then like explain a little bit more. I think there's such different opportunities when you're traveling alone versus traveling with someone else. There are certain things that I've done with friends that I probably would never have done alone. For example, the first time I went to Yellowstone, which you guys know is one of my favorite places in the freaking world, I went with one of my friends because he suggested it. If he didn't, would I have gotten out there at some point in my life? Maybe, but maybe I wouldn't have known that I really liked national parks. But my friend suggested it. And so we went, and then I like fell in love with it. So anyway, what else was I saying? But there are also certain things that I've done alone, or because I was traveling alone, which are different, like either things that I've done personally by myself, or situations that I've gotten into because I was alone, but I ended up meeting other people to do them with, if that makes sense. So there are some things like that that I never would have done or gotten the opportunity to do if I was with someone else. And I put example Ranger Zach and Zion, which I've told you guys a story that I went to Zion for the first time by myself like 5 years ago. And I went on a ranger-led hike. I love ranger-led hikes when I go to parks because you learn stuff. And also it's incredibly dangerous to hike alone in most of the parks. And so there were like 5 of us, we were kind of chatting. And by the end of the hike, I kind of like befriended the ranger because he was kind of like my age. And he was like, hey, I have the next couple days off. Do you want me to like show you other cool hikes? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. If I was with someone else, he probably wouldn't have offered. He may have, but he probably wouldn't have. And that experience ended up being some of the best days of my life. We went hiking in the river in the Narrows. We went hiking in the Narrows and went to Orderville Canyon. Like, it was incredible. But if I was with someone else, he may not have offered because he would have been like, oh, you know, she probably just has someone else to do that kind of stuff with. And so even in my notes, I put, I'm not really saying that one is better than the other. It's just different. And so I don't know if this counts as an advantage, but I think it's at least an advantage to do once. I think that traveling alone by yourself at least once will put you in situations that you probably would not have gotten into if you were with someone else, in terms of who you meet or what you might be doing because it's just you. Like, again, like you might be like, I really want to go ziplining, but the person that you're with is afraid of heights and does not want to go ziplining. And so you might be like, oh, okay, we don't have to go. And then you compromise, do something else. So I know the first advantage that I talked about was more like car stuff in terms of like stopping and going and stuff. But this is a little bit more experience wise and adventure wise, that you might end up with someone who you didn't really know that they hated camping, or you didn't really know that they were afraid of heights. I would almost bet that when you travel alone, there are going to be experiences that you probably would not have had if you were with someone else. However, it's almost the exact same as the opposite, that if you're traveling with someone else, you are probably going to experience things that you would not have experienced if you were by yourself. And so it's not necessarily a pro either way. It's just that it could be a pro either way, depending. Does that make sense? You're just going to experience different things. And I think some of the pros of the experiences of traveling alone, you wouldn't get if you were traveling with someone else. Does that make sense? So I don't even know if there's really a con to that one. Oh, the con that I put also is that you might just want to experience things with other people. You might not want to experience things alone. You might feel safer with someone else. And so those are just more things to take into consideration when you're thinking about getting on the road. So this fourth one is the longest one that I have, and it's honestly the most serious one, because obviously all of those other things, if you meet the right person, they could still be so beneficial that you don't mind that you're sharing with someone else. You know what I mean? Like all those things and everything about traveling alone, you might just prefer being alone. You might prefer to not share with someone else, or you might have traveled for months and months or years with someone else, and you might just be like, you know what? I want to travel by myself for once to see how it is, to see the difference. And then so to get into number 4, I wrote, you learn how capable, reliant, and strong you are. Seriously, when you throw yourself into a world that most people haven't experienced, for example, traveling alone for a decent amount of time, you're naturally thrown into situations that you might not be prepared for because you've never done this before. So you might have to pee while you're driving through the middle of Arizona. You might not be able to find a place to sleep. You might meet some random people and you need to gauge if it's safe or not to talk to them. You might even have to do something as simple as put air in your tires or eat alone at a restaurant. But if you've never done these things, and if it's never been taught to you, and if you don't know other people who have done these things, then doing them for the first time or the first few times is a huge deal. But you'll figure it out because you can literally just do it. You can literally do it. And then you'll probably be like, oh wait, that was easy. And that's when you'll learn how capable you are. And that's like pretty awesome. You also learn how to be okay alone, or you might even learn that you prefer to not be alone all the time. Honestly, you learn a lot about yourself, your own personality, and also on top of that, what you like in the world and enjoy. Sometimes when you're with someone else, you might not notice these things. You could, but it's more obvious when you're alone. And so again, you might know that you're an extrovert, that you feel more comfort when you're with other people, that you feel safer with other people, that you maybe don't trust yourself to do a lot of things like put air in your tires or what to do if you run out of gas or something like that. But the thing about it is if you throw yourself into traveling alone, you will learn not only how to do all those things and how to be okay alone and how to rely on yourself and trust yourself, but you'll also learn that you can. You'll learn how, but you also learn that you can do those things. You can do things by yourself. But you also on top of that might learn that while you can do it, that you might not like it. But you might not know if you don't like it. You might think, oh, I doubt that I would like traveling alone. But honestly, you might not really know until you do it. Because there's so many things in this world that we can definitely be like, I do not want to do that, and I do not need to do it to know that I would not like it. It's not something that I think would fulfill me, and I do not want to do it. Okay? There are some things like that. There are quite a few things in my life that I'm like, I don't need to do that. I don't want to. And honestly, even if I did enjoy it, I kind of don't care enough to do it. Or I just don't need to do it or experience it to benefit my life, or to just know that I don't want to do it. But there might be something that you kind of feel a little pull to, or a little push to, depending. You might feel pulled or pushed to do something, but then you might have that fear stopping you of saying, oh no, you don't need to experience that. You probably wouldn't like it anyway, even though you kind of feel pushed to do it. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's something in your life that you kind of feel like pushed. Starting a business, traveling, writing a book. It can be anything entrepreneurial or anything adventurous. Oh, I kind of want to go hike this really big mountain. But then you might have part of you being like, oh, but it doesn't matter. Maybe I wouldn't like it. And you have all this fear stopping you, or self-sabotage or self-doubt stopping you, when in reality, you actually want to do it. You want to experience it. And so that's what I'm talking about. Like, if you really want to do something, or you're even neutral about it, but it seems cool, you're not going to have that like confidence in yourself that you can do it until you do it. And again, this is not for everything. I'm not talking about stupid things, but I'm talking about like, if you have something like an idea in your head that really sounds cool, but you might have people stopping you or self-sabotage or something, don't let it. You know, like, go do it and go experience it, because there are just certain things in this life that will help you grow and will help you learn about yourself and about the world. And they might be things that other people haven't done. They might be things that other people try to talk you out of. They might be things that in your head, you're like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. But you really can. And there are just so many things that you can learn when you travel alone that you cannot learn if you're with someone else. Or you could, but it would be more obvious or easier if you're by yourself. Like, even like learning the roads. When you're driving with someone else, they're driving, you probably aren't paying attention. Even things like that. Or if you're with someone and they always take care of anything that happens with the car, they put air in the tires, they get the oil changed, whatever, you might not learn how to do that. But if you're doing it by yourself, you'll learn, you know? And so I think it's important, even if you love traveling with other people, even if you know that you're an extrovert and you'd like to be surrounded by people, I think that if you love traveling, that it still will be beneficial for you to do it alone, even if just once for a few days. Like, I really still think it'll teach you so many things. So number 5 is that you can get In-N-Out Burger as much as you want and no one will make fun of you or try to stop you. So you know that's the most important one for me. It's literally the most important one for me. And I also, instead of a con, I just put, you shouldn't travel with someone who doesn't like In-N-Out Burger anyway, so there's no con. If you're traveling with someone and they don't have the same love for In-N-Out Burger that you do, like, why are you even friends with them? Honestly, what are you doing? Come on. That is the number one important thing for me. If I'm going to travel with someone who's like, you cannot get in and out every day, no, you do not need that negativity in your life. Absolutely not. I'm kind of joking, but also you guys know that there's part serious in there. But yeah, so the rest of the thing, I wrote a little like closing paragraph. This is basically an essay. I wrote an essay for you guys. All of that's to say that I think traveling with someone else can be a beautiful thing. It's been hard for me to find good travel partners, honestly. It just really has. But I can, if you want me to, make a separate video on the advantages of traveling with someone else and talk about other certain things that maybe I didn't touch upon in this video. But also I can talk about maybe how to choose a travel partner. So if that's something that you want me to talk about, let me know in the comments. But again, in all honesty, you will learn different things when you travel alone versus traveling with someone else. There are so many things that I learned when I traveled with someone else that I am not sure if I would have learned if I traveled by myself. And there are so many things that I learned traveling alone that I'm not sure if I would have learned if I was with someone else. And so I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm almost saying do both. Is kind of what I am saying, that there are pros and cons of each, and that you will learn specific things with each. Things that you'll learn when you're by yourself, you'll learn how capable you are. You'll learn certain things that you enjoy. You will have to push yourself out of your comfort zone, which is super important, because if you're with someone else, they can do all the things that you don't like. They can make decisions. They can take care of the car. They can book hotels if you want to get those or whatever. But if you're by yourself, you have to do all of that. And so you have to push yourself to know how to take care of yourself, honestly, and how to like live in this world. But you also learn how beautiful this world is and how incredible other people are. When I've been alone or with other people, I've had people offer things and just met awesome people regardless. But so I just think that traveling alone will just teach you certain things in a different way, or easier or earlier than you would traveling with someone else, and honestly vice versa. But I think there are just so many perks of traveling alone that I think it's definitely worth it, even just for a few days, for a week. Go take a little weekend trip by yourself. Some of the things you might learn are, wow, I'm capable and I'm strong and I can do all these things by myself that I don't know anyone else who's done that. That's really cool, because I didn't know that I could do these things. And sometimes you got to throw yourself in situations that are not comfortable to learn. It's rare that you're going to learn anything or grow as a human in your comfort zone. And so this is one of the ways that I've been able to grow and throw myself out of my comfort zone when I started traveling years ago. Now it's basically my comfort zone, but there are still things that I experience now that are still out of my comfort zone. But now I'm used to being out of my comfort zone, that even new things that are out of my comfort zone, it's like, okay, yeah, let's go, because you're going to learn from it. And so you have to have that open mind of like, yep, I'm going to learn from all of this and I'm going to experience all this. This shadow has been annoying me for so long. But yeah, again, there are so many pros traveling with other people, but you learn about yourself in a very specific way when you're by yourself, especially for a decent amount of time, for longer than a week or so. But also you might live alone for a week or for a month in your car driving around, and one of the things you might learn is that you don't like it, and that's okay too. I think it's so important to experience things, even if after the experience you realize that you don't like it. I still think it's so important to throw yourself out there. Throw yourself into things that you've never done before, that you've never experienced, or honestly that scare you. Feel the fear and do it anyway. That's how you learn. And that's how you learn what you like or not, what you're good at, what your strengths are. That's how you learn that you probably have more strengths and that you are more capable than you ever thought you were. And so now, after traveling alone for so long, I've learned things about myself that I know that I wouldn't have otherwise. And so I'm not saying that everyone needs to travel alone, otherwise you're never going to learn anything about yourself. That's not what I'm saying. But if you kind of have that urge, if you kind of have that like, oh, that sounds really interesting, and you kind of feel a little pull to it, I would encourage you to do it. Whether it's a week, take a week off work, save up a little bit of money if that's how you want to do it, and go. Or if you want to do something more like I'm doing, find some online work, figure out how to save a lot of money or whatever, however it is for you, because we're all so different, and just go. Because I think it's really important to, if you feel a pull to something or a push to something, to do it, or to figure out how to do it in a way that is still healthy for you, your family, that's still helpful and beneficial and fulfilling to you. And so if it's traveling alone, I hope that that you go and do it. I really, really do, because it's just going to be probably so different than you could ever imagine. I know a lot of people ask me questions all the time, like, well, don't you get scared, or don't you get lonely, or don't you get this, don't you get this? It's like, yeah, but if your priority is more important than being uncomfortable, that's when you know that it's something that could really be beneficial. It's like the experience or what you're going to learn matters more than being uncomfortable. Lots of things are uncomfortable. Going to school is uncomfortable, but it doesn't mean it's not going to be beneficial. You know, getting a hard job is going to be uncomfortable, or getting a new roommate or getting married, I'm sure, is uncomfortable, because it's like a whole different, you have to share everything now. A lot of things are uncomfortable, and it's because they're helping you grow and learn and change and become more of yourself. And again, you might learn that you don't like it, and that's just as cool. Honestly, to me, it's just as cool. If you do something new, try a new hobby, or go somewhere new, go to a new city or something. And I think having that opportunity to do so and experience that, even if it comes with some things that are uncomfortable or some fear, doing it anyway is great. If you like it, that's great. If you don't like it, you still did it and you still experienced it, and you still know more about yourself, because now you're like, oh, I did that and I didn't like it. Okay, that's cool. You just know more about yourself. And you have more opinions. And I think that's just cool, because your opinions are based on actual things that you've done, versus just, oh, I don't know if I would really like to travel alone, which is fine. Again, if you don't want to, that's different. But if you really, really want to and you feel a pull to do it, but then you still don't do it because you talk yourself out of it, that's not super great, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. So if you feel a pull, if you feel that push, just go and do it, but also maybe have better lighting. That's so much worse. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Again, let me know in the comments if you want more of a pros and cons, but mostly pros of traveling with other people and how to choose a good travel partner. I can do that video as well. Let me know in the comments if you want that. And yeah, that's gonna be it. Make sure that you're subscribed and follow me on Instagram as well. And I have nothing else to say, I don't think. And I'm sorry about the lighting. I wanted to record this earlier and then I didn't. And that's the whole story. And then I just honestly did not realize I was gonna get it this dark at 6:30. So I apologize for the lighting. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. I love you. Jesus loves you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.